Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listen to replay. Once again, this is the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. This is the vault episode 341. People in trust deal with people in trust. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Is always appreciated, and we appreciate it. So, this is the vote episode 341. People in trust deal with people in trust. This episode is talking about what we talk about in trustee training, why we do the workshops, why we have a workshop coming up here on the 25th of September, Saturday, 9 to 5 for trustees. You want to get out in contact with us, Christian at trustchristian.com if you want to fill a last minute seat. We actually almost are at capacity, so we know capacity's there. But we know we still may have one or two sit in the back or something like that. To say the nosebleed seats. But still in the environment. Nevertheless, we do capacity events. It's not one of those things we're out looking to go out in the public and have everything going on. We look to one. That's what the episode is about. People in trust deal with people in trust. This is how it works. So when people say, well, how does it work being a trustee? Appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listening to replay. People in trust deal with people in trust. We share this with our trustees. When you deal with people in trust, there's ways to minimize everything. But when you're not moving in trust, you become a liability. Because you're the liability. So why is it that people in trust deal with people in trust? Because people that are not in trust are a liability. How are they a liability? Trust Christian in the vault? Well, they are the owner of those businesses that you may be doing business with as a trustee. And in turn, these people, if they get sued, things can happen. What if they got the business accounts froze or search and seizure happens? What happens when those things happen on the company because you have your name on it? Or they did. So people in trust deal with people in trust. They say, okay, we cannot deal with people that are not in this position. That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. When you get to this point, you know you made it. People in trust deal with people in trust. Oh, wow. Who is that? All you deal with is people in trust? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll repeat again. Because if you are not in trusteeship and you're looking to deal with a trustee, traditionally, they want to deal with other trustees. But if you're not, they're going to have the position where you're the liability, or the individual that they're dealing with is the liability. They're the liability. So people in trust want to deal with people in trust. That's how it works. That's how we move efficiently, move effectively. Everything is about stewardship. But we got past that? No, we didn't get past it. We're still here. It's about stewardship. It's about trusteeship. People in trust deal with people in trust because we understand the laws, as they say. The laws. You utilize the laws because the trust makes the contract, which is the law. Trust makes the law, right? Because it's the contract. Right. People in trust deal with people in trust. So when we have our, what they say at the naysayers, you have your little trust things, you know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, people in trust deal with people in trust, so they don't need to be big, because there's not too many people in this sector, so they don't need to be big. We don't need the nation. It's not that many people that get selected into these positions. When you think about it, some politicians sit in positions for years, for a career. Politicians. So when we're talking about trusteeship, which they're in a position of trusteeship, we can see what? We can see that some people want to sit in the contract for years and almost be a beneficiary. You're working for the community at large, the community trust, the community chest, which is the government, and you're getting a salary. Well, we had to write legislation so we could have a salary because we gave up our private interest. So they're not in trust anymore. See, they gave up their private interest. When you see presidents resign of their foundations, or they take temporary leaves of absence with their foundations, or with their charities, or with their businesses, people in the government are doing the same thing. So people in the government deal with people in the government. So people in trust deal with people in trust. That's what happened. People in trust, trusteeship, they congregate in the same environments. You might see them on a vacation. Why? Because they have assets under management. You may see them at the Ritz Carlton. You may see them at the Four Seasons. We're not endorsing these places. You may see them at the country clubs. You may see them getting a quick bite to eat. But most of these people, they're private. You hear that? They're private. People entrusted with people in trust. They're private. So just because they're managing other people's money does not mean they're not private. Oh, why don't you know the asset managers that are managing your money at the bank? Because they're private. People entrusted with people in trust. They're private. Well, people that are in trust, that deal with people in trust, if they're going to be private, you're not out in the public. You're not doing those public things. You're doing things that put you in an environment to grow in trusteeship. And here's the drop ball of the irresponsible. One of the mentors asked, why don't you get educated? You want to know what that means? You got to get educated. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. People that are a part of an endowment at a college, their parents paid too. People in trust deal with people in trust. People in foundation deal with people in foundation. Correct? Right. So when we talk about putting together a private community of the foundations in the room together, it's not just a pie in the sky idea. We've already done it. And we're going to continue to do it. Because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's about being in people in trust, dealing with people in trust. Yes, people in trust deal with people in trust. People in foundation deal with people in foundation. Oh, I don't know if I get in the foundation, if it's going to be a hard life for me because, I could be living on my dreams in charity and philanthropy through you, Trust Christian in the Vault. But for some odd reason, I want to keep working my job at the post office making $50 to $60 to $80,000 a year. Really? When you can be in foundation and go to other foundations and have these foundations give grants because they have to give the money away for you to do your divine purpose, for you, because these large foundations have to give money away, period. People entrusted with people entrust though, right? Right. So how does this look, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, this is one of those things where we're looking at this now. We're saying we see that the recurring theme is people entrusted with people entrust. But am I in it? Am I a trustee? Did I go through the training? Did I congregate with the other trustees this year? Did I congregate with the other trustees this quarter? How does this work, Trust Christian? I mean, in the vault. I mean, we're listening to the vault. We want to be in trusteeship, but we're ignoring one of the principles that you have, which is people entrusted with people entrust. Correct. That's what it is. Well, here we go. Since we gave you 9 minutes of the lovey-dovey, Oh, it's the plus side, trust Christian in the vote. It's the plus side. Well, if we in trust, and we a trustee, it's gonna seem like everything should be running smoother. Cause then you saying we eliminate some liabilities. It's not financial advice, it's not legal advice, but you saying we could eliminate some liabilities. Correct. You could eliminate some liabilities. But let's talk about the negative side of trusteeship. When people breach trust. So when people breach trust, people in trust don't deal with people in trust anymore because they breached the trust. How do you breach the trust, Trust Christian involved? By breaching a contract. How did you breach the trust? How did they breach the Trust Christian in the vault? How did they breach the trust? They broke non-disclosure agreements. Something simple as that. You breaking a non-disclosure agreement. That means you're not in trust anymore. You're not dealing in trust. You breached the contract. What happens if the trust is compromised because a trustee can't keep their mouth shut? That's a breach of contract. It's termination. We got to dissolve. We're not private. But I couldn't keep my mouth shut because I was trained in the public, Trust Christian. Can't you see in the vote? Can't you see I was trained in the public? You were trained in the public. So does that mean you don't be private now and do what the private says, which is people in trust deal with people in trust? That means you come to people in a vote of confidence. Trust means you come in confidence because you're in trust. Is that how this works? That's how this works. You're in trust now. You're in foundation. People in foundation deal with people in foundation. Why do we have the foundation trustees come back in the room, but the other ones that don't really make sure that they're fully locked and loaded, they want to scurry and curry and think they can shoot the 3-point curry? I mean, what's going on here? You think you can shoot from half court by being halfway and being half cocked and not getting the full story? You think you got the full story because you think you got something? It's trustee training. It's the vault. That's what it's about. It's a private community of trustees. Trustees that, they're looking to do the righteous thing. That's what happens. You got to come in confidence. You got to come in trusteeship. You got to come in that way. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. See, people in trust know who they can trust because they in trust. So you know who to trust more now in deals. Who not to. Appreciate Dallas for Texas for tuning in live, listen, replay. We got Dallas, Texas tuning in live, listen, replay. Appreciate Jacksonville, Florida for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate people typing into the chat where they're listening live, listen, replay from. We got Jacksonville, Florida. Workshops coming up in Orlando on the 25th. Looking forward to seeing the new trustees. Looking forward to connecting with older trustees. This is what we do. It's always going to be this way. People come in with a non-disclosure. It's private. People in trust deal with people in trust. So you got to sign a non-disclosure. Why are you afraid to sign a non-disclosure? In trustee training, they learn that's still the first document that you talk to. They over here, well, Trust Christian involved. We might have an issue with the lawyer signing the NDA. Why? Well, because the lawyer told us that, we were going to have a attorney-client privilege. Right? But what's wrong with them signing an NDA with you specifically? Oh, some trustees come up bare naked, and some trustees come up getting it right. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. If they're promising you an implied contract, why not have it expressed on paper? Because people in trust deal with people in trust. Why not get that hand paper contract? Why does everything need to be digital? Oh, we're going to do the digital signature, and then it's a halfway signature. It doesn't have the UCC. It doesn't have all rights restricted, all rights reserved. It doesn't have that. But you want to do digital signatures. This is the age we're living in, and the trickery that's going to go on people. But people in trust deal with people in trust. They don't mind you printing out the contract and hand giving it or sending it through the mail and saying, here is the handwritten out contract, signed and sealed. That's business. What's the wet signature? Not the digital. But they got the digital trying to, oh, we got to make this digital signature more important. Yeah, right. People in trust deal with people in trust. Got Wyoming tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate Wyoming for tuning in live, listen, replay. Appreciate you. People in trust deal with people in trust. So we talked about the positive stuff for 9 minutes. Can we get at least a few more minutes on the negatives? Because this is what you're going to have to endure. You want to lick the wounds, right? For what's going to happen in trusteeship. What's the negatives? Tell us the wounds that you had to lick. When they break the non-disclosure agreement, what do, mentor? What do you do when you gotta sue people, mentor? Because people in trust deal with people in trust. What if they breach the contract? What happens when the contractor takes longer to repair the property than what they stated? What do, mentor? We didn't have that in the contract. So guess what? They've just delayed on doing the project. And we had to take them to court and all this other stuff. Right. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. Appreciate New Orleans for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate New Orleans for tuning in live, listen, and replay. New Orleans. People in trust deal with people in trust. Okay. Trusteeship. Are you going to trustee training? How much is the trustee training workshop? Did you get the flyer? Did you get inquiry? Are you going to a trustee training this quarter for your family estate? We got all of these people out here. Oh, I'm doing something for my family estate, but I got all the assets in my name. But you're doing something for your family estate. Oh man, I'm just starting out. Oh yeah? Well, guess what? People in trust deal with people in trust. So at one point you got to make that decision. It's something that has to happen. Trustees came the other day to a consultation and said, Trust Christian, there's a class at Harvard we think about taking. What do you think? And sometimes when you think about it, you know, people in trust deal with people in trust. Is Harvard not a trust school? Yes. People in trust deal with people in trust. They not stupid. They came with a great idea. We're thinking about taking a class over at Harvard. See, this is the things you say to your mentor, and this is how you outgrow your mentor. Now, don't get the big britches. That's just honesty, but that's how you outgrow your mentor. Because, and just know y'all not gonna outgrow Trust Christian Involved, because we're literally right here at the forefront of in the environments. We're right here. We're the speed of the group is the speed of the leader. We're right here where the wealth is at. At this point, we're just dealing with families. That's what it comes down to. So it's a different type of story. When people want to play ball, want to compete, want to be the best as far as their family and being a trustee or whatever it is. And that's very very important. We've learned that. Of course, you got to go to workshops. You gotta get in the right environments with trustees, other trustees, and other wealth environments, high net worth investor environments. You just have to do it because there's a wealth gap, quote unquote, and that's based off of education. There's specific information that you're not going to get because you're not informed. Informed means you're not even in the people in trust deal with people in trust position. So how can you get trust information if you're not in the trustee position? So that's how people look at it from a trust position. Traditionally, trustee position, they look at it as, if you're not in trusteeship, why would they deal with you? That's what they would say. Why? People want to reach out, feel free to reach out. Christian at trustchristian.com. It should be in the description, but Christian at trustchristian.com. Definitely feel free to reach out. Definitely are doing consultations with people, having people come to the workshop for last minute stuff, and you know, that's what we've done at the vault for a while now. If you've been a long time listener, people know. If you've been a new time listener, always appreciate it. Just feel free to go back. We do have a workshop coming up on Saturday. They are private. They're for trustees. We would like to reserve those for trustees that are already enrolled. So a lot of people are going to see a lot of improvements even go through the trustee training, as the workshops are always going to be equitable because they're going to be with people in equity. And that's the most important part. People in trust deal with people in trust because they're dealing in equity. You have to have something in order to get something. There's no free lunches. So we're going to talk about, after workshops when we talk about dealing in equity, because I mean, we can hit home runs like Barry Bonds. We can hit home runs. But a lot of times when you hit home runs, some people don't appreciate that you, every time you stepping up to the plate, you hitting a home run. Because people in trust have to deal with people in trust. If a person is not really in trusteeship, why would they appreciate somebody that is in trusteeship? But then we think about it. When somebody's in trusteeship, they don't really appreciate other people that are not in trusteeship because there's a disadvantage. They're like, well, this person is a liability. This person is definitely a liability. And you think about it. When people come in trusteeship, think about it. How would you be able to do business with people around you when you're in a superior position? But think about it. Those people, the ones that don't share it, that already let you know what is going on. The people in trust deal with people in trust. They don't want to deal with those people. They like, well, look, I know you, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna put you on to privacy. Do you hear me though? They moved into trusteeship, but they not telling their closest friends or their family or their friends didn't pick it up. So they might even be in business deals with other people. They didn't tell them they in trusteeship. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. People that are in the right position, they're not talking. That's what the audience doesn't get. See, they say, "Oh man, I don't know what's going on. I want to tell others," but the people in the private, they didn't just go run out to the streets and say, "Hey, I'm in trusteeship, and oh, I want to tell the whole world about this. I'm gonna tell my closest business partners." What do you mean? They didn't tell their closest business partners. Some of them did. That's what happens. People say, "Oh, I was going private." That's what they did. They went private. But what were you supposed to be doing there? Oh, I'm trying to be a public personality. Okay, we've had trustees go through. They're public personalities. Guess what? They're still in the public telling people they own stuff. Ain't that sad? Y'all, do you hear me though? They're still in the public telling people that they own stuff. But they're private. They got a whole system in the background. They don't own anything. But they tell people in the public that they own it. Who's that? Your favorite rapper's rapper? Who's that? Your favorite celebrity? Your entertainers? You think they don't say that? What's the purpose of having a blind trust? We're protecting our greatest asset, our mind, our ideas, their deals. People in trust deal with people in trust. How are you going to protect your ideas if you don't even have a contract that says, hey, we're in a private contract, we're in a non disclosure? That's private. And then people in trust deal with people in trust because they don't breach the contract. But this is the dark side, ladies and gentlemen, of contracts in the world. This is why we have a litigation. The mentors say litigation is a business tool. What do you think is going on out here? People in trust deal with people in trust because people can get sued. They don't want you to be held up in court. And if you are, you don't have anything. You don't own anything. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. It's trust Christian knowing not to control everything. People in trust deal with people in trust. So they never leave the environment. Do you get it? You think, oh, wow, some people end up not coming to this workshop, that workshop, or some people come to this one, come to that one. Okay, but the ones that are consistent, they're the lead dogs for their family. They know it's not about them, they know it's about the family. They know, okay, I got to get around other trustees a few times a year, at least once a month throughout the year, so I can develop relationships, trusteeship, so I can have my family sitting here learning with me. There's no shortcuts to managing the family estate. But for some odd reason, we got amateurs trying to do what a professional does at a bank. Well, let's look at this. The professionals at the bank, they actually have a college degree, probably worth about $20, $30, $60,000. Are you willing to invest that much in your private education so you can be a private one to manage their family assets? Because at the bank, they're just sitting behind a computer managing algorithms. So do you think you're going to get the $60,000 education like they got, learn how to do it privately? Are you going to pay for the algorithms that they have access to manage your money through some mutual fund? Through some ETF? Through some web app platform that isn't even a formal brokerage firm? That's where you are? Well, it looks like people in trust deal with people in trust. That's what it looks like. People in trusteeship say, look, I don't come from this, so I got to make it a point to invest in the education as much as it is. I mean, a little bit it is a good deal for me right now because, hey, he already let us know some conferences cost thousands of dollars. And, I got to go in there with at least a accredited investor. I got to go in there with $250,000 because, if I'm in trusteeship, I got to have $250,000 to go in these environments because otherwise they're looking at me like, why are you in here? Because people in trust deal with people in trust. They got a financial threshold, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we talk about at the workshop. It's a financial education. It's an informed family versus an uninformed family. Is your family informed of trusteeship or foundation? Because people in trust deal with people in trust. Ladies and gentlemen, the trusteeship world is a very, very small world. And just be very well aware. The seniors have experience. People say, oh, what about the youth? Let the youth speak. Sure, we can let the youth speak. They can come up with these wild ideas. But when you sit in a room with seniors, we're not saying to submit in a way in which it's a learning. So you humble yourself. It's almost like that you may not be interested in what that particular subject is, but the teacher is what keeps you interested. You may not like even the teacher sometimes, but you need the message. You need the education. So people are willing to go through classes that, hey, this teacher, they slurred when they were talking. They had a heavy lisp. I couldn't hear half what they were saying, but I got a passing grade. Right. Trusteeship. You got that passing grade. You got through. This is where we are. Are you in trusteeship? Are you going for trusteeship? Or are you going for, I'm looking to make a lot of money? They looking to make a lot of money. But we over here, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. So we're talking about assets under management. Did you hear me? Assets under management. That's trusteeship. But oh no, no. The trust is an asset. Did you manage it properly? Did you manage trust properly? The word, did you manage the trust in the relationships properly, or did you breach the contract and trust? Did you breach the contract? Did you go behind people's back in business deals? Did people go behind your back in business deals? That's a breach of contract. People in trust deal with people in trust. So when you breach the contract, you throw dirt on your name. Because people in trust deal with people in trust. People in trust, they work it out because they're in trust. They have nowhere else to go. Remember, they're in a contract together. They're trustees. They have to vote each other out properly. And actually, it's not even vote you out, you resign. That's how feeble-minded people that think that they can move around in trusteeship and they burn relationships. We're talking about the dark side. We gave it some minutes here because this is what you got to go through as a trustee. This isn't the light, fairy side. There's no fairy side to it. It's business. Well, I'm working a job, Trust Christian, in the vault. I didn't really know I didn't know people were going to try to burn me in the business deal, Trust Christian, in the vault. Why do you think they got a rule in the foundation that says, invest prudently? You got to use discretion. Well, Trust Christian Vault, I never was exposed to the business world. My family been generation of employees. They've been in the estates for 4 or 5 generations and they've been employees. Okay. And you stepping out to manage the family estate properly. We got first gen and second gen, third gen that manage family estates. So when we talk about that, are people making excuses about being the first gen that has to make the sacrifice like an Amshire Rothschild? Do you see how big the estate is when you do it the right way? Is it not duplicatable? It's learnable, teachable, duplicatable if it's a system. But that's the problem. People have been trained into a system of what? Poverty. Oh, I went to public school. They told me to use my social. I got some debt on my social security number. I think it's my social security number. Got the social security number. I got a car. I got a house. But everything's in what? My name. Oh, wow. That's how this works? Trust Christian of all. You said trust Christian own nothing, control everything. You said people in trust deal with people in trust. Right. Appreciate Waco, Texas for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate Waco, Texas for tuning in live, listening to replay. But we went to public school. We were programmed, Trust Christian. How do we break this cycle of poverty? We got 4 or 5 generations of employees in our family. Well, we had some people do some hustling, but they was never a big time entrepreneur. They didn't make what's equivalent to $1 million in our money today. They didn't make $1 million in equivalent to our money. We don't come from that. Okay, well, when are you going to invest in your private education? Have we not talked about that? That's what the mentor said. This is what the mentor said. See, this is the hard reality. A lot of people, they want heroes. They want leaders. They want someone to really manage the estate, which is unfortunate. But a lot of people want someone to manage the estate. This is what the mentor says. Go to school. Go and get your education. You'll never need me. How about that? He didn't say leave them, but he said do something and you'll never need them. Some people will look at that the wrong way. And whether you know it or not, the mentor is looking to look across the table for you and look at you as an equal. Not look down on you like they above you because they're older or because they've done more deals. It's you something you call it's called you earn their respect. Because people entrust deal with people in trust. You earn their trust. And you keep in trust. You keep the faith. Forever faithful. You never breach the contract. You always are in trust. You got an issue in trusteeship with the family. You do what? You keep it in trusteeship in the family. You don't go outside the family. But people do. We had to talk to a family this past week about what happens when people marry people outside of trusteeship. It's almost a conflict of interest, but people don't want to hear that. Why? Because people in trust deal with people in trust. So why would your family be dealing with another family that's not in trusteeship? So then what happens? Now we got a conflict of interest with somebody. They want to know why is it that well, hey, you don't really have to work, or your great grandchildren, or these people they don't have to work, but well, I got to go work every day. Well, I got to go work. You don't have to not to work. You get to sit here and enjoy your dreams. Your family put something in place for you. Because people entrusted with people in trust. There is no complaining about that then. Looking forward to the workshop this week. It's always a pleasure. Trustees, the like. Just It's been a beautiful journey so far. We would like to count these down like the Super Bowl. We're up to, we're not at Super Bowl 50 something, but we're definitely moving forward in that direction. And just really appreciate, you know, the trustees that, quote unquote, stick around because the best is yet to come. Uh, excuse us, even at the workshop here, we're gonna have a blast with the seniors. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be something that is, always focused on education. I mean, when you think about that, to be able to pull people into the room and just be focused on education and dealing in trusteeship with other trustees, this is the most important part that has to be displayed is your willingness to be coachable. This is something that the trustees that are making it a point to say we have to take out that one day out of the month or out of a quarter, and we have to get our focus on our continuing education. And so these are just families that are taking that proper step in that right direction. Sometimes maybe individual, but usually you see a lot of families, and that's the most important part. We do it at great places. It's going to be in Orlando, so we're having a great location. Christian at trustchristian.com if you want to reach out. It's in the it's actually in the description, so Christian at trustchristian.com. But once again, just really excited for this one with the trustees. I know a lot of trustees are, looking forward to shaking a hand, even in the times that we're in. We've had trustees always even want to give hugs out. Even the times that we're in, and people really want to have those heartfelt, welcomes, and really say, hey, I really appreciate, what you've been able to do and help me and my family and working with our family. And so many people are really really blessed and happy about that, and we're really happy about that, working with the families. It's been a great joy always, and it's always going to be a great blast because you'll be surprised, the trustees that go through, and you see trustees literally end up doing things together, creating lifelong relationships, creating lifelong sources of income. When we talk about those things, those things are, just it's not just it's about information. We always tell the trustees, people in trust deal with people in trust. So remember, it's not the trust that's dealing with the trust; it's the people, it's the relationship. It's not about the information, not about the contract. It's about the relationship. So when you breach the contract in relationships, you don't even understand. Trust Christian in a vault. We might have had a vault mentality of closing the door on you, but the environment is straight like that. You burn your name, you burn your reputation. It's a small environment We all talk to each other. You don't think somebody know you did a bad business deal? You think people don't know how you're moving around and how you're moving? It's a private environment. Think about it. It's not that big. It's a 1% environment. We all know what each other's doing. Supposedly, well, guess what? You got some loud mouths, and then you got the ones that know how to keep their mouths shut. That's the difference between public and private. People entrusted with people in trust. We appreciate you for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to reach out Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Whether we're talking consultations, workshop, look forward to hearing from you all. People in trust deal with people in trust. Peace. Enjoy.